Welcome back to Askewed Reviews. And today I'm reviewing a film that's currently in theaters. And the movie that I'm referring to is the 2025 film The Toxic Avenger, directed and co-written by Macon Blair. So you may or may not know this, but The Toxic Avenger is actually a remake of a film that came out in 1984, and it was produced by Troma Films. And if you haven't heard of them before, this is a collection of movies that were really B movies. Some were horror, some were adventure, some were other just kind of random stories, but in my opinion, they were all very entertaining. So, if you were a fan of Troma films, or more specifically the original Toxic Avenger, you will probably go and see this. But if you have no idea about any of that stuff, let me tell you a little bit more about the story for this film to see if it interests you. So, we start off with our main character of Winston Goose. Now, Winston is a janitor and he works at a company called BTH Corporation. Now, what they make, at least from the best of my understanding, is different types of drugs or body supplements or things like that. That's at least the best I could understand. But this company also causes a lot of toxic waste. Now, at one point, Winston did have a girlfriend, and she had a son named Wade. Unfortunately, the girlfriend passed away, and now Winston is the caregiver for Wade. Winston very much loves Wade and wants to take care of him as best as he can. Unfortunately, he finds out from his doctor that he now has some sort of brain disease and probably only has about 6 months to a year left to live. To make matters worse, the company that he works for's insurance won't cover any of the medical costs for a procedure that might be able to save his life. While all of that is going on for Winston, we meet another one of our main characters, JJ. Now, she has acquired some information about BTH that will hopefully be able to shut them down for good. But the problem is they find out about her, and now they're going to try and do everything possible to stop her from being able to get that information out into the public. And speaking of the company BTH, the owner is a man named Bob Garbinger. Now, he is definitely one of those filthy rich people that is also just a terrible human being. Now, his brother Fritz essentially works as his head of security. Fritz has hired out a band called the Killer Nuts that he is also the agent of to be his mercenaries. So one night, Winston breaks into BTH to try and steal some money. At the same time, JJ breaks in to get some more information. While they're both doing this, they run into each other, but they unfortunately also run into the Killer Nuts, who find Winston, take him out, and throw him into a vat of toxic waste. So once Winston emerges from the toxic waste, he has now been mutated and is changed into the Toxic Avenger. And with these somewhat special and super abilities that he now has, he's going to show Wade what a real hero is. If you were a fan of the original film, you can probably already tell they very drastically changed the story for this one, but it's definitely not a bad way to go with it, to kind of update it for a new generation, and of course, make sure that it's not the exact same thing. Now, I did find this movie fun and enjoyable, but I will say it didn't have the exact same magic that the original film did. Not that the original was great, but it just had something oddly charming about it. The movie does have a great cast of actors in it. You have Peter Dinklage, you have Jacob Tremblay, Taylor Page, Kevin Bacon, Elijah Wood, and Julia Davis. Also, if you didn't know, Peter Dinklage is the voice for the Toxic Avenger and, of course, the original actor playing Winston, but the body for the Toxic Avenger was a woman named Luisa Guerrero, and she did a great job in this, as they make it believable enough that Peter Dinklage is still in there. For me personally, I still might like the original a good amount more, but I still did enjoy this. So I'm going to give this movie a 3 out of 5. And if they do end up making a sequel to this, I will absolutely go and see it in theaters just like I did this film. So if you've already watched The Toxic Avenger, let me know what you thought about it in the comments. And I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews. If there's any other films coming to theaters that you think I should watch and do a review for, feel free to mention those in the comments as well.